Hello. Okay, guys, welcome to the stream. Back with the podcast. I'm here with my co-host Spartan,
Hello, everyone.
and we're here to discuss the season finale of the Acolyte, and I guess theories of if it does get a season 2 going forward and stuff like that.
Right.
We'll see. But yeah, that's season finale.
Huh?
It was it was a finale. That's for sure.
Okay, Andre.
Yeah, you go ahead. Go ahead, lead.
No, hold on. Because I am bringing up the episode in and of itself.
I am getting stuff.
I was trying to find some, and I got distracted looking at old movies.
There's a lot of good movies coming
there
out.
we go. This is why.
A lot of good movies.
I was never prepared. I am stretching. Here we go, folks. So one thing I do want to start off with this episode, if there's like one thing to truly disappoint me, okay, one thing. Well, folks, we've done a lot of speculation here on the channel. Unfortunately, almost none of it correct. As per usual, as per a lot of channels. One thing that I know I was personally hoping for is I love the titles for these episodes, in case you haven't learned. And so episodes 1, 6, 2, I love those 3 episodes specifically because they have a paradoxical title, like you've lost, found, justice, revenge, teach, corrupt. You know, it shows 2 sides. It shows perspective with words. Like, what is this if not this, kind of thing. So I was really hoping that this finale would also be titled something clever, something really neat. Like, for instance, once again, the description does a better job than perhaps even the titling does, where it says confrontation and revelation await. Don't get me wrong, those aren't two opposites necessarily, but that would be better than titling episode 8 the title of the show, The Acolyte. Don't get me wrong, I see where it's going, and I think I see why they chose this route with the title, because of course the ending, where we unfortunately, I think, will have to say goodbye to May as a character for the most part. I can't imagine she'll be as heavily involved as she would be she was in season 1. I feel like we will probably get all the information we need from her, and then probably sparingly see her again next season. Sparingly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, there's an absolute lot to cover in this episode. Like Andre said, it is the finale. This one left a lot in the air, I felt like. Or, we almost want to say, failed to deliver, what we were hoping for. Wanting to know more with the Jedi and the old apprentice. I'm talking about Vanestra and Khmer. We want to know a lot more about that story. Now all we have is pure, revelation that, of course, yes, it is her Padawan, whom she says went to the side of the darkness, and he says was betrayed by his master. So it could be a very interesting perspective as to, who's actually right. And, this show already with season 1 did a great job at doing that. Just because, where do we have that line? By the way, Andre, can you send me the link?
Yeah.
No, you're good. Because, again, season 1 did a great job at telling us, what does that line look like? Where is it? And, how do we how do we acknowledge it? You know, because with Soul and his team's perspective, you know, this whole time we're thinking like, okay, they're really gonna frame the Jedi in a really terrible light, and then when we get to see the actual episode, yes, it was selfish intent on Soul's part, but otherwise the whole mission was handled incredibly respectably. And we talked about this last week on the show, where it's definitely, you know, like for everything that happened, all the chaos that went down last episode with the troop backwards, what happened with the Jedi's mission, we definitely got, like, the Jedi actually did a good job for everything that went wrong.
Yeah, they reacted, and they kind of reacted in a way that was understandable in the situation that they were in. Not really doing anything.
Children. Yes.
Yeah.
But even then, yeah, no, they were looking to rescue these children. So.
That was the plan.
Yes.
Or it was the mission. Soul's mission.
I thought you said submission. Like,
Submission.
I don't know if that was the message of the episode, Andre. But you go for it, sir.
The message is, if you stab someone that looks like they're about to hurt somebody, you're in the wrong every time.
Yes. Yep. This is what good behavior gets you. And
so next time, if it happens, then just don't get involved. Just stand on the sideline. Stand on the sideline and be like, I didn't do absolutely nothing, and I didn't get in trouble for it.
Andre doesn't know it either. Lovely.
No, but...
No, you said, don't help him. And I said, let's hope we don't cover him. Do you know that one?
I don't.
Damn it. It's Incredibles.
Oh. Yeah.
When Bob sees a dude get mugged and his boss and him are...
Let's hope we don't cover him. It's like, I'll be right back.
Help.
I'll be right back.
He's getting mugged. Well, let's hope we don't cover him. And then the boss sets up through like 8 walls. And
then he's like, I'll be right back. If you leave, you're fired. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Sorry.
See, Mr. Incredible did the right thing.
Yeah, he did it.
He went up there and I don't know if he caught the thug, but I'm assuming, he lost his job.
No. The whole reason was he got away. That's what really set Bob over the edge. The guy ran.
Yeah.
He got away.
He lost his job, and he did the right thing.
Yeah.
And here, Soul did not do the right thing. So he died.
I want to be a Jedi Master. That was it. That was it.
But yeah.
Go on.
Where were we? We're going into theory.
Well, I was going to go into one more thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
The beginning of the episode, or part of the beginning, folks. Kumir and Osha. Definitely, they I feel like carried the show. Not that Soul was bad. I'm just kind of putting Soul out of mind for the sake that he probably won't be in next season, unfortunately. Or I can't imagine he will be, unless it's like some weird like Force ghost talking to Osha, like, hey, you need to come back. You know what I mean?
Hey, you kind of murdered me.
Very true. Like that might be the only way he returns, is like as a guilt ghost to her. But no, I bring this all up because Osha and Kamir's scene at the very beginning, where they talk about they need to leave, and not to mention her in the helmet. She tapped into her cult's power, which that's crazy. Think about, because unfortunately I don't think we actually do anything with these characters, because again, you have the entire timeline at your disposal. You know what I mean? Like, imagine if we started with the Andor series before we got the Rogue One movie, and we're like, well, why do we care about Andor? What's so special about Andor? He didn't do anything. And then we got and then we get Rogue One, and learned that, okay, fine, he kind of did something. It's more impactful that we learned it from the back end,
Okay.
So, like, with her having this power, being trained now as an apprentice or as an acolyte, this is such a great power and great, like, threat, I'd feel like, to the Jedi. But what good is it going to do to our, like, what's going to happen with the prequels, storyline? What happens? How's this going to bridge to the next 100 years? And on top of that, how is that going to happen if we don't get season 2?
Through books.
Man, I hope not.
That's probably what they'll do if they don't get a season 2.
If they don't get a season 2, they're probably going to post it and be like, guys, we have to follow through the story at least. We're going to explain this huge thing. And, one thing that I will give the show some credit for, we look at the Jedi, like, order here and now, how populous it is, Like, think about how many Jedi there are, Mind you, in the prequels and stuff, there were a lot of Jedi that we really did not account for, But, I wonder if this show will serve as a purpose to showing, like, the true, like, fall of
the Jedi.
The true fall of the Jedi Order, Because if it does something like that, then we really will be set.
We will be set. What do you mean by fall of the Jedi Order?
Well, like, okay, again, I mean, like, in the prequels, even though we have a lot of Jedi, it really feels like we have, like, nobody. You know what I mean? Like, it feels like it's, like, this set team of, like, just the Jedi Council that means anything. You know what I'm talking about? Like, obviously, there are a lot of Jedi, but we don't see their impact. We don't see it in movies quite, except maybe, like, Episode 2, in the Geonosian arena. And even then, what's that? Probably 100 Jedi? Maybe? 50?
Yeah.
Probably.
Something like that, 50.
But don't, like, look at the Acolyte series. Wouldn't you say there's probably been more than 50 Jedi in the backgrounds alone?
Pretty close, maybe less, technically.
Well, I mean, obviously not in every background shot, but you know what I'm saying.
Well, I know, I'm just trying to...
I wonder if we're going to see some sort of cause and effect, like the reason there's so few Jedi in the prequel era is because of what is happening actively with this. And you'd think if they lost that many people, it would raise more concern about the Sith. The war would be going on much longer, and I feel like it'd be addressed a little more aggressively unless it got handled, Like, no reason to bring it up if the situation's been resolved.
Yeah.
But yeah, who knows? Maybe we have all this. And, of course, the biggest thing, and the reason I brought up Ocean Khmer Scene. Plagueis! Fucking Plagueis! We got him! I'm so excited!
I never read the book with Darth Plagueis. I need to read it, to be honest. I have it, but I do need to read it, because I know it kind of goes into... him and Darth Sidious a bit. I think it's more Darth Sidious, but when he's apprenticed to Darth Plagueis. So I don't really know that much about Darth Plagueis except from what was talked about in the movies, specifically Episode 3, when Palpatine kind of tells Anakin about it. But yeah, interesting character. Don't know that much about him, but definitely potential for sure to bring him into the media. When I mean media, I mean like the movies, TV series. I don't think he's in any games. I don't think. Yeah.
I don't think he's in any of the movies either. No. Yeah.
No, he's not. So,
I'm pretty sure. Other than the books, this is his first adaptation. Now in Clone Wars, they do show his race. They're called the Moon. I don't know if that's Mun or Moon, but somewhere around there. You see this race, they are a banker clan. They have more of a nose than they show here. I know, like, a lot of people were debating more that he looks more like a Duras, which is like Cad Bane.
yeah.
You know? In which he is just gray with big red eyes. Not what we see in Clone Wars, where it's like this super elongated, like, tall face. Imagine, like, the Easter Island heads as Star Wars characters. That's what the Moon should look like.
Okay.
Or at least that's how they've been depicted more. But and again, I don't know if it was in the games, I don't know if it's in older books or what, we actually do see other reference images of the Mun, and they don't look anything like the Clone Wars adaptation. They look much more like what we saw here today. Or not today, but last Wednesday, folks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. It's gonna be interesting to see how they use Darth Plagueis. But if that's the case, we might see also a younger Darth Sidious, because he does have him as an apprentice at some point before he is killed by Darth Sidious. So maybe we might get a tease of that possibly as well. Trying to think what else.
Well, I know. I know because I had to look into lore just because I wanted a little more clarity with all this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And to give more idea for how this is all actually going to go down. We talked about it briefly before, also, Andre, where Plagueis at this point is actually an apprentice. Plagueis is how do I describe it? Plagueis is the apprentice to, like, Darth Tenebris, I believe is his name. I might have that wrong. I don't know the race of Tenebris. How do I word? Again, he is an apprentice, you know. So, like, if we keep going by the rule of two, or the bond of two, then this is Plagueis looking for someone to bring on to try and take down Tenebris. Well, if he's trying to take down Tenebris with either Kumir or Osha, because mind you, there's a lot of theory in the community that not even Kumir knows about Plagueis in that moment. Like, as if Plagueis just shows up on this island because he senses these two, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Which could make sense. Maybe he sensed, like, her tapping into her cult's power, and that's why he even showed up in the first place. But even if he were to recruit one of these two to help him take down his master, they fail. Like, I'm sorry, folks, if this becomes spoilers in the future. I really do apologize. But they fail. because we know that Palpatine is the apprentice he uses to kill Tenebris, not these two. And I'm pretty sure we actually won't get Palpatine for at least another 50 years, from the sounds of it. So, I'm really curious what they're going to do. I feel like we need a major time jump for Season 2 if we really are going to pick up with the Season 2. Like, I don't feel like you can just pick up from here. I feel like we should, like, jump into the future and, if anything, delve backwards and, like, unveiled pieces that we, got across to get to where we are at the Season 2. Because, folks, unfortunately, I do think we are getting a Season 2. I know there's been a lot of mixed reviews, and I know it can be a lot of fun, but I really do think this will be a show that gets a Season 2. Unlike so many other great shows that have not, unfortunately.
Yeah, I can truthfully see Disney forking up the money and doing a Season 2. I think, like I said in the previous podcast, that there's been so many seasons, there's been so many TV series that a lot of people did not like, but yet they performed even bad, but yet they still had another season, either in the contract or whatever it is. I truthfully would be shocked if we don't get a Season 2. Specifically with it being a big talk. Even though it's a lot of negativity towards it, I'm not going to be surprised if we do get a Season 2.
Yeah.
If we don't, then I don't know. I would say the only reason we don't get a Season 2 is maybe just because it did lose a lot of money. And I know a lot of companies lately are cutting back on projects or I'll just completely canceling them just because money problems and stuff. I think a lot of companies aren't spending and losing a lot of money now just because everyone's hurting, man. And hasn't been the same since COVID. So I think that's part of the reason why some things are just getting canceled. Like I'm trying to think of one that just got. Oh, did you hear they canceled Halo, the TV series? They're not getting any more seasons. They've officially have canceled and canned the Halo series on Paramount Plus.
That's fine. I mean, death to it.
But yeah,
by all means, death to it.
But
didn't follow the.
I know Paramount got bought out by. We talked about this previously. They got bought out by Skydance. I think it was Skydance.
I know we talked about it, but I don't remember all the stuff.
Yeah. So as I could see, as I said, like especially with a lot of places hurting, there's going to be probably cuts. I wouldn't be surprised if Disney doesn't do as said Season 2 of this. But I wouldn't be that surprised if they were like, hey, let's put some more money towards it. But I know right now Disney is kind of dealing with a lot of stuff. I know this is kind of off topic. Their D23 thing's coming up. I think it's next month, if I'm thinking correctly. It's their big Disney event. But also... Wait, what?
I believe you're correct, yes.
Yes. But they're having their big event coming up. And Disneyland... if you guys don't know, a lot of the workers are part of a union. They have unions. Their contract's coming up. And last time I've heard, they have voted that if they do not get what they want from this contract, they have voted that they will go on strike. That does not mean they're going on strike. That does not mean it's happening now. It just means that if their contract they get with Disney isn't good, they will go on strike. The possibility is happening. And it's very interesting because this is happening literally, I think it's supposed to happen starting next week, if I'm thinking correctly. Or actually, no, I think it's this week. Never mind. It's this week. I don't know exactly when. I think maybe Wednesday's when it's supposed to happen. They're supposed to go to the tables. But it'll be very interesting because if Disney, this is really getting into, has it go out longer, the D23 Expo is literally, by how I understand it, is literally the conference center is literally across the street from Disneyland. So imagine if there's a strike going on, all these people are going to be going to this D23 conference in a stadium just across the street from Disneyland, and then they can't go to Disneyland because people are on strike. So there's a lot of things going on with Disney right now, so I wouldn't be surprised if Disney maybe, like what you're saying, like we don't see a season 2 for like a good couple years. They push it, or like they put it on the shelf, if you want to call it like that, for right now. Because I feel like right now Disney's kind of dealing with a lot of stuff on their plate right now with a strike and union contracts coming up, and the D23 Expo, where they are trying to get people excited and get people pumped, because right now there just really isn't that much at the parks. And with Universal's Epic Universe hyping people up a lot, Disney's big cash flow, where they get most of their money from, is from the parks. So there's just a lot of things going on right now at Disney. So I know I went off a little tangent, but yeah. So we'll see. That's all we can do. It's not been confirmed. I think the only news we've heard is just Leslie Headland saying, "Oh, this is what I'd like to do for a season 2. This would be cool if I did this for a season 2." But we have not heard an official statement saying there's a season 2 of Acolyte coming. But until then, we will not know. As I said, we'll probably hear it from Star Wars Twitter page, probably Disney themselves. But as of right now, it's not confirmed. And I guess that's all I want to say on that subject. Yeah. Trying to think what else. Yeah. A lot of Disney stuff.
Oh, yeah. No, this show and everything was like, yeah, okay. If we bring it back to the episode instead of the show, of course, unfortunate with the fate of Soul. Our soul is gone, and
his soul.
this really sad joke I keep hearing is Osha has officially lost her soul.
Oh my god! They literally walked into that.
I bet that was some dude's like, yeah, I'm making big fucking bucks off that one. You know, like damn it, of course. It's a great little jab, but it's one of those things that, oh god, of course.
Of course,
why you gotta do it?
They pulled it.
Yep, Osha lost her soul, and I still just kind of love the flip of these two characters. Like I know. We've gone back and forth with like the weird interpretations of May and Osha and how their behavior is. Folks, I'd like to direct everyone to a show called Hellstrom. Hellstrom was a Hulu TV series from Marvel that went so under the radar, I don't even know if it's actually on Hulu anymore. You might be able to find it. I don't know. Hellstrom, it was one of the projects that I know got approved before Feige really took hold. And I think this is one of the last projects that the guy before Feige greenlit before Feige took over, and I don't know what the whole story there is, but it sounds like they're just like, you know what, let's just do it. And so they did this series because they're really hoping for a lot here. But it's about the Hellstrom twins. They're the son and daughter of Satan. The reason I bring them up is because these two characters, which is pretty understandable even in the show, in Marvel Comics, they were always the opposite side of the same coin. Like, one would work with the Avengers, one would work with the villains, because they believe in that direction. By the end of that specific conflict, if one of them had a resolution, the other one went evil. So as soon as the one's like, God, what we're doing here is wrong, the other one's like, oh my god, I've been doing it wrong this whole time. And I really see that like characterization with May and Osha, just because where these two are so similar. They and obviously that's gotta be said. They're the same person, which I think a lot of us saw coming for a little bit. Now, maybe the last 2 episodes or so. At least last episode, um, it was a really like good setup to like show that since these guys are so similar, they can't be the same emotion because it's just the same person. Your justice and your vengeance in the same person. Yeah, you just can't have 2 vengeance. You can't have 2 justice. I know that sounds a little convoluted, but you know what I mean, I think.
Yeah.
I think. You can't be double mad, Andre. You can be mad. Even if it's a really mad, that's still just mad.
Well, I feel like if you're mad, I think it would turn into like fury, or it'd be like a whole nother level. It wouldn't be the same thing.
And again, you can argue that because obviously you have May, who at one point's ready to murder, and Osha, who's at one point ready to arrest. And even then, the 2 emotions, the 2 characters flip. May wants Soul to turn himself in and stand by everything he knew he did wrong in the past, and Osha's like, fuck this, nah, he's dying. Like even that changes. So I was actually kind of pleased with that whole dynamic. A little cliche to have them completely swap uniforms still, but it's okay.
Yes.
I will say there were some really great things and some really bad things with the choreography in this fight. Like, because there was fighting in this episode. Can't have a good Star Wars episode without lightsaber fights, this. Of course, we got to see lovely Kumar, like, in his fighting style, which is so good. I love it so much. But one thing that I know upset me, and I have to find the scene if I can. It was when they're fighting, like, in the rafter, in that, like, upper balcony area,
Yeah,
about, right? Okay. When they're fighting up there, they make it a big scene where they're like deflecting each other's sabers and they're dragging along like the ceilings, the walls, and the floor.
Yeah.
And like you would think that as you see those slashes take place, you would see the scars left in the walkway. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, that's interesting.
If you go back and look at that fight, the whole time they're fighting, there are no scars in the walkway, as their lightsabers are dragging along each of them. The only time there is an actual dent, or like visual damage to the hallway, the structure, is when they have that whole moment where he deflects it and they drag the beam through the side of the wall. And then there's that great big molten scar there. Which, mind you, also has its problems, because when you see all that scarring take place, obviously it's going to be hot, obviously it's going to be smoking, and when they jump out of that walkway, the only scars you can see are the ones from the big wall getting slashed all the way through. And then later, there's actually even a point where you don't even see that scar on the walkway. And so, I don't know. It was really just like, you know, hey, props department, you know, what happened there? Director, what happened there?
Yeah. Oh. David, I'm doing a podcast. Thanks, David. Okay.
I'd say.
Okay, but yeah. Actually, I didn't really even look around for that, actually, to be honest. Huh.
See, even when I turn my mind off, it's like there's a lot there I want to focus on still. And there's a few other things I want to bring up with that fight. It's so weird.
Which are you talking about, the May and OSHA fight, or are you talking about the Soul and Khmer fight?
Soul Khmer.
Okay.
Because, I mean, again, that's probably more of the focal point of the fight, obviously, because you hold on to the lightsabers, of course. We can see Khmer really detach the lightsaber, you know?
Yeah.
When he separates it into two blades, dude. Ah, oh, dude, that was so cool. So cool. But what I found really funny is that there was this whole thing about, you know, like, why didn't people grab the weapons later in the scenes and the fights and all? Why did we just completely forget that Khmer has the second half of his saber on the ground? Like, I know it got... So it gets disarmed by Soul, tossed to the ground. Khmer tries to reach for it. It fails. They take a brief bit. He calls them back, and then he does the whole throwing bit. We know the throwing bit when Soul puts his lightsaber away, trusts in the Force, does the big ol' splash, and then pulls out his saber again. Which was a very fun moment for as weird as it was. But then again, we never see that second half. Khmer gets his lightsaber back, but we never see the small bit come back.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah. And I do want to say, like... Oh, actually, you know what? I'm wrong. I'm just wrong. Because I am watching the episode as we're going along here. He does actually get the second saber, or half the saber back. You can suddenly see him summon it from behind his back and snap it on.
Snapping it.
Yep.
Clipping it. Whatever it is.
He's going to bop it next.
And then twist it.
Yep. And then you have Soul who's going to pull it.
And then, and then he'll flick it. God damn it. Stupid.
Yeah.
So
but
stupid.
This show has shown us our very first crystal being bled on television, you know. Our first, like, lightsaber crystal being bled, you know?
Yeah.
Kyber crystals. Mind you, we even get to see it illuminated and bleeding.
Illumination.
Which, again, looked really choppy, but at the same time I liked it, you know? Like, it was at that point I could tell that is a stick with, like, a bunch of lights in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
just because it just kept changing like that.
Made me think that they pretty much made that and they're going to try to sell them at Disney World. It's kind of the way I took it. Someone mentioned that the handles of the lightsabers, they're kind of, and the lightsaber blades, they seem kind of chunky compared to the lightsabers that we got from the prequels. And I even think from the originals, to be honest.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Which I think the reason, or at least this is a theory, this is theories. I think the theory of why they are like that is specifically because they are trying, because they, if you guys don't know, Galaxy's Edge, they do have it where you can customize your own lightsabers. Now, don't get me wrong, pretty cool. But they're very they're not battle ready. They're more of just kind of like you put up. You don't want to fight with them because they do break very easily, is what I've heard from people. But I'm assuming what they did with this show is they're trying to, I would assume, probably make some more, try to sell more of their lightsabers. Now, I think that would be kind of cool if they do have a lightsaber that you can like have the crystal bleed or the lightsaber bleed. And that's kind of what it looked like to me. Is it looked like it was something that they created, like a toy. And it wouldn't be surprising if they do try to sell it at Galaxy's Edge or on their website. I'm assuming, I would say probably Galaxy's Edge, because that would make people have to go to the park to get it, make more money.
Yeah.
To be honest, but yeah, that was just something I just wanted to throw in randomly. But yeah, go ahead.
No, good. That was letting you.
The bleeding crystal was cool. I think we did though didn't we see Ahsoka technically take Sith light, or maybe it was just like we've heard about it. I don't know if we've ever seen it like in a cartoon or anything like that, but haven't we seen her take two Sith blades and then turn them into white, cleanse the corrupted cyber crystals, like kyber crystals?
I believe that was the story for how she did, like how she came back as Fulcrum with her two sabers.
I don't think we ever seen it, did we?
No, I don't think we ever saw it. But I believe that's what he says, or it's something that's mentioned in the books, maybe.
Think so.
In Ahsoka's return, she stops two Force users with lightsabers and bleeds the crystal white instead of their red.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess this is a cool thing to see, for just a spectacle, seeing it in person. Yeah, it did look kind of clunky though. But as I said, I think it's because it was. I don't think it was. I don't know. I just can't see it being CGI. I think it was actually probably they built it and they're like, okay, well, you hit this button and then it'll start changing colors. It looked very electronical, like they built it to do it.
It looked more practical.
Yeah, definitely not CGI is what I'm saying. Yeah.
Very
interesting.
I do actually think that...
or if they did, they might have used a little CGI. I don't think they used as much as what probably a lot of people would think.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I think that's a good way of looking at it, just because I really do think that we... I really do think that we get a more practical effect for these lightsabers. And I just want to bring up that even if you call all these lightsabers clunky, like obviously we have like Kelnaka's, it's huge, but he's a Wookiee.
Oh, that makes sense for him.
But also, this could be a whole different era of lightsaber production. You know what I mean? Like, this could be a point in time where emitters had to be huge because that's the technology. You know what I mean? Even Hu Yang from the Ahsoka series and the Clone Wars series, he mentions like how much lightsabers have changed over time, and we even kind of get to see that over time with the prequels, the sequels, the originals. Now, you know, we can see how different they all are. So is somehow these lightsabers bulkier just because of the era of Jedi? Perhaps. Going to something a little more sleeker in the prequels? Maybe. You got the whole Rebels arc, which I know that's a whole different art style, essentially, to Star Wars. So it looks like pencils, practically, for lightsabers. Like, they're really thin and to the point.
I do like my pencil lightsabers.
Like rapiers, more than a broadsword. And then you have the originals. which I'd say the originals and the sequels are pretty much the same in that regard for their lightsabers, just because, right? We literally use Luke's. The only like real new one is Kylo's.
Yeah.
Or not Luke, right? Do we use Luke's?
Uh.
Yeah, no, we
yeah.
use Luke's because we give it to him and he just throws it.
Yeah. And then he drinks that milk, blue milk.
Mm-hmm.
Or is it green?
Uh,
Drinks one of them.
yes.
And he's like, refreshing. But, yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, it's interesting. Lightsabers. How they've changed. I know, talking about lightsabers, that kind of brings another project that I know they're working on. We haven't really heard anything new of it except that they're wanting to work on it. They were wanting to do, I don't remember the book. It's based off a book. It's pretty much the origins of the Force. The very beginning of how the Force came to be. I'm pretty sure it's probably going to explain to us how lightsabers were created in a way, shape, or form. I'm not 100% sure about that, but I know there is a book, and it's an old book, that pretty much does the whole beginning of the Jedi and the Force and all that good stuff, which is really cool. I need to read the book. I know it's on Audibles. I've seen it. I've not read it, but I know they talked about the project, but we don't really know anything else besides them talking about it. And as much as I want to be like, oh, this is going to happen, you have to remember Lucasfilm has the tendency to announce all these projects, and sadly, some of them just don't see the light of day. So just take it as like take it as a rumor. Don't take it as fact until they're like, okay, here's the person working on the project and they've started. Because I think even for some of the projects, they've had directors and stuff, and they've started, but they had a lot of turmoil. Who knows what happened behind the scenes, and the director, whoever, just leaves, and it's put back on the shelf until they can find the right person to do it. I kind of wish I actually did read the book so I could kind of talk about it, but the bad thing is I just don't know anything about it. I think it would be very interesting to kind of see where the Jedi started, how the Force became to be, because it is kind of a big, it's a very big thing in Star Wars, and it's been explained in many different ways, which you think about it with different people, different groups, they're all going to kind of take the same thing and take their own little twist or perspective on it. Just like Obi-Wan says, it's a force that is around us, it binds, it's in all living things. As the witch cult, or the cult of witches, they consider it as like a string, a fabrication of everything, and we can use it to bend it, do anything with it, really, as long as you have the power to do it. But yeah, that project, I would say I'm kind of interested in. I'm more interested in that project because I don't know that much about Star Wars. The only thing I know about Star Wars is from the Clone Wars animated series, the prequels, the originals, the Star Wars sequels, and I guess a little bit of this. But I know the mind wipe thing. I know some people were very upset about, which I guess I didn't think about talking about that. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, pretty much at the end of the episode, Quamir pretty much mind wipes one of the... Well, the spoiler is that pretty much they're the same person, pretty much. They just been split, May and Osha. Yeah. Spoilers. It's been a week, so spoilers, but it's been a week, pretty much. But yeah, so they're pretty much the same person. So pretty much he wipes the mind of May. Personally, with that kind of confrontation, I just don't understand why. I know people will say, well, it's the rule of two. It's just two people. But you think about it, May and Osha are technically the same person. So wouldn't that, like, Don't you feel like that could kind of bend the rules in that way? You know, because they're more powerful as two, so why not just keep both of them instead of just leaving one? But besides that point, mind wiping, I've heard, is actually something that has been used in the games, and I think it was in the Old Republic specifically. So you can do that, but I don't think it's as extreme as they've done it in this show. I think you can like mind wipe someone or like give them like amnesia, but to like a certain degree, like not to like as extreme as they've done it, where it wiped pretty much most of her.
You forget like an entire person.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm not 100% sure on this, but that's what I've heard. I'd actually have to do more research into it. But I've heard that that's something that some people have complained about. They're like, oh, why haven't we seen something like this before? We have. It's been in the games. I don't think it's been in any of the books, or at least I haven't read any of the books that have had that happen. But if it has, it's definitely not been to the degree that she completely forgets who she is as a person, like almost everything except like little fragments of herself. And I don't think there's really any Jedi that's, or even Sith, that's been able to do that. That I know of, at least. I could be wrong, though. I'm not an expert. But I think if somebody was able to do that, they would have to be very powerful in the Force. Now, I'm not saying Quamir isn't powerful, but I don't think Quamir is on that power level, I guess. And that's, I guess, another thing I could talk about is, like, the power scaling in this show has been interesting. Like, it's been very kind of, I guess, it's kind of like how my brother explained it to me, so I kind of agree, is we're going back to the writing. I know last episode we talked about how the writing just wasn't that great, but he was saying the writing in this series, just in general, is where they will write to use one certain thing, just to use that thing for that one moment, but they won't use that thing any other time. And I think a good example would be Quamir's helmet. As we saw in episode... It would have been episode 4? 3?
Yeah.
4. When he fights, we find out what his helmet's made of. It sorts out lightsabers. Awesome. Cool advantage to him. Good for him. In the final fight with him and Soul, maybe he was just playing with him, maybe he was teasing him, but why not use his helmet? There were so many parts where they were fighting that they were pretty up close to each other's faces. All you would have to do is just go bonk, and the thing would go out. Just like Soul's Force abilities. I think that's something we really didn't see that much in the fight, and there's ways you could combat that and then explain why they're not using it. For instance, I think a good example would be is to look at episode 3 when Obi-Wan and Anakin are fighting on Mustafar. I think that's a very good example of them using their Force abilities and then them just not using them anymore. Because, as we see, like, pretty much in the fight, they both are using Force push on each other. They're both evenly matched, that they literally push each other back. So, what does that tell us as an audience, I feel like? It tells us that pretty much, okay, these guys are evenly matched when it comes to the Force. So, yeah, I guess they could just keep doing Force push. Maybe there's a cooldown to it. Probably, maybe gets tiring after using it. But we can tell that they're very evenly matched when it comes to the Force. You can make comments that Anakin's probably more stronger, but he has more hate and anger in him, yes. But at this moment, Obi-Wan's going to have to fight him probably face-to-face. He realizes, it's not going to work just to Force push them because they're so evenly matched, as you can see with that. I feel like that's something they could have done with Soul and Quamir. Maybe have something just the same. Like, they're using Force on each other, but they're so evenly matched that he's like, okay, I can't use the Force anymore. And I think maybe the reason we see kind of stuff like this in some of the fights, is maybe they didn't have, I don't know who the coordinator was for the fights or whatever, but I think they needed to have someone there to look at the fights from another perspective, or maybe a lore person for Star Wars. I don't know how you could do it, but to take a look at it from an outside point of view and be like, well, you know, as I said, Cormier's helmet, they both are Jedis. They can use the Force. You know, there's a lot of different things with that. That's really me nitpicking and stuff. But it's kind of like, you look back at not the originals even. You even look back at the prequels. They did very much consider a lot of the stuff. They hired someone specifically that is a fighter, a swords person, and is very good at shooting action shots and stuff. He considered all these things when pretty much setting up these fights and filming them, which is good, because you want to try to make it as realistic as possible. Yes, it's three or four people fighting with sticks. Yes, I know it's very ridiculous and dumb and stupid in a way, but it's good to have a certain kind of realism and to explain certain things when you're fighting after you show certain thing. Sadly, this show, the writing is where they just show the thing just to show the thing to you, and then they never address that thing ever again, it seems like, in the show. And it's interesting. But
it definitely wasn't there enough. Yeah.
It's an okay way to write, but it's like what you said, like, I think it was last podcast. You said it's like, this is your arsenal. What can you use in your arsenal? They didn't consider that for Cormier. They didn't consider that in like a lot of the fights. Or especially this last fight. Maybe it was a rushed project. Maybe it was something that got a lot of stuff cut from it. I don't know. Like I said, we probably won't know unless somebody like speaks out about it, or we probably will never know. But it's very interesting. Actually, another thing that I don't know if you knew is Ventress, the girl with the one Jedi lady with the green hair, or the green, whatever her race is in Jedi, and she's the council member. I'm pretty sure she's a council member.
Venestra. Yeah.
Venestra. She actually is. She is the. I'm thinking about how to word this correctly. She is Leslie Haslin's spouse.
Okay.
Yeah. Which I did not know that, actually. The only reason I found out is because I guess she put up a post saying that Leslie Haslin did everything she could to make this show. Just give her another chance, let her do a season 2. Which I said I didn't know that personally. Yeah. Which I was like, okay, well, I can definitely see that. I know a lot of directors and stuff, people that usually control projects, they'll usually bring in friends. Acquaintances, people they know sometimes in the show. We could say we've seen that from I think even in the original Star Wars movies. I think George Lucas brought in I don't know who it was. I think it was some of his people that knew him, or I think like an acquaintance of his, a friend, and he was actually one of the X-Wing pilots in the movie. But
I was gonna say that's how the guy who plays Wedge got into the movie.
Yeah.
He got to play Wedge because someone was like, "Hey, you should just like come shoot a few scenes with us."
Yeah. So.
Sure enough.
Yeah, that's fine. But yeah.
Wedge and Tilly's.
I'm trying to stay as neutral. So the Acolyte end of the season, or the last episode, was okay, for me at least. It does have a little teases, but it feels very, I'm trying to think, it feels very ungenuine, I guess is the thing is. What I mean by that is that it doesn't feel like a slow burn kind of leading up to it. It feels like almost like the sequels, how they positioned the movies, and they brought back Darth Sidious, and Darth Sidious really wasn't ever really mentioned in the other sequel movies, except in the final movie, Rise of Skywalker. And everyone's like, whoa, why did they bring him back? Sadly, with Darth Plagueis in the series, I don't remember him ever really being mentioned that much, except for this final, or we seeing him this final episode. It feels like a carrot on a stick, on a little rope, being thrown to us or thrown to people to get people excited, to get people hopefully excited enough and get enough support to get them another season 2.
Yeah.
As I said, the writing was a really big issue with this series specifically. If they would have had little teases leading up to him, I think it would have felt more genuine than just maybe just thrown in last minute to kind of get that, like a jump scare. Like if you guys are horror people, there's 2 different types of scares. There's those slow burning scares that build up, and then there's those cheap jump scares. There's nothing wrong with jump scares. I do like jump scares, but
how dare you?
There's nothing wrong with jump scares, but there's some movies that's all they do. I do like the slow burn. I do like the build up, the tension, the thing, instead of just like a movie where you're walking around a corner and then your sister jumps around the corner, it's like, ah, and you're like, oh, okay, give us that tension, give us that build up, is what I'm meaning, or what I'm getting at. And sadly, they didn't really do that much in the series, except for at the very end. And then we also saw little Yoda's ears popping up, which kind of opens up another can of worms, just because Yoda's a pretty powerful Jedi. I know some people might be like, well, he might not be that powerful when this is happening. It's like, maybe true, maybe so, but it's playing with the can of worms where it could end up bad for Yoda, and could make him look bad in a way, is, I guess, the biggest worry for me. Because, as I said, Yoda, as a character, and I think even from some of the Clone Wars series, we see that he has done some bad things in his life. Not really, super bad things, but we've seen that, he's grown as a character, and he's become wise to try to prevent, Anakin and the whole the fall of the Jedi. He blames himself for that. But he's a very powerful Jedi. And bringing Yoda in kind of, as I said, it sounds like he's even, I'm assuming he's probably on the council. We have no idea, but I'm assuming he probably is. It brings up a lot of questions, because as we've seen in the prequels, Yoda, if he is as powerful as he is back then, we have no idea. But I'm assuming probably because his race does live very long. He sensed, Jedi dying, the Force being hurt. We could also make the excuse or the argument that it's well, there's a lot of Jedi in this. There's bunches of Jedi. So maybe if let's just say 100 die, it probably isn't that much compared to when it happens in the prequels. Yes, that maybe would be so. But for somebody like Yoda, who could sense the death of the Jedi, it kind of makes you wonder, why do any of the other Jedi feel this? Maybe none of these Jedi that are on this council are even very strong in the Force. Maybe Yoda was one of the only ones that was very strong in the Force, was very connected with the Force. I have no idea. But it does make us ask a lot of questions and concerns that could later on affect the perception of how Yoda is in the prequels. Yes.
Yeah.
So
there's definitely a lot with that final shot.
And as I said, even what I even mentioned, is that the reason they didn't bring in Yoda was what I've heard, because in interviews, was that because that person wasn't available. So that means they probably had the puppet there, because all we saw was maybe his ears move. That was it. They only had the puppet, maybe the puppeteer, but they didn't have the person who did the voice for Yoda because he was not available to shoot it. And bringing him in like that just makes me feel it's if you can't bring him in, why cheese him like that? Except that just people are probably expecting to see him because he would be alive naturally in what we know from the lore. Why not just save him for the next season than doing a tease like that? So it's interesting. As I said, I guess if there's a season 2, I'm curious to see what's going to go forward. If I could say one thing to Leslie Headland and the writing team, you guys need to maybe get new writers, or even just get someone that's not a part of the writing team. Get outside feedback from this. I think that would very much help with this, because there's just so much plot holes, so much cans of worms are opening with a lot of these things. And as I said, the show can be definitely enjoyed just by shutting off your brain. There are movies that are great like that. I'm trying to think of one off the top of my head that's a good one. Like a lot of the cop movies, like the silly ones like Eddie Murphy's Beverly Hills Cops. Turn off your brain, watch the movie, it's awesome. Die Hard, I would say it's kind of like one of those movies, but yeah, I would say Die Hard's definitely not, especially like the second one where they're at the airport and stuff. But yeah, there's a lot of movies you could turn your brain off and enjoy, and there's nothing wrong with that. This series could be one of them. But I think it also depends on, I guess, how you your expectations going into the show. And I think it's also perceived by the expectations that the director, the writers tell you in the trailers of how to take the show. As I said, Die Hard, Beverly Hills Cops, they're just fun movies to watch. It's just a cop trying to solve a mystery, gunfights, saving the day. Awesome movies. There isn't that much to them. The trailer for this, and I feel like what they were pushing in the marketing and everything for this show, is to take this. This is going to be a dark movie. It's gonna rival stuff. It's going to do this. It's going to do that. And I think when you do that, when you set those expectations for a show, even if it's a movie, TV show, whatever it is, fan film, you are setting yourself to hit those marks. And as I said, for some of the people that might have enjoyed this, maybe they didn't hear about the marketing. Maybe they went in blind, which, as I said, maybe that's the best way to watch the stuff. But for me, I'm a big Star Wars guy. I do watch a lot of YouTube. A lot of the people I watch do watch these trailers and stuff. And I did hear about a lot of the interviews and things that happened with the show before it came out, and what people were saying about the show, what the actors were saying about the show, which, as I said, it just put that expectation, or what we were supposed to expect from the show. And it did not hit my marks. It did not hit what they said they were going to make from the show, in my opinion. If you guys like the show, that's awesome. If you want a second season, then go out and let people know. Just be respectful of other people that did not enjoy it. It's always good to have a little banter about stuff like that. But for me, it just did not hit the expectations. May and Osha, the main stars of the show, just weren't that interesting of characters to me. It felt very disconnected. I think it also felt very disconnected for me because the big selling point for this season was to make us see that the Jedi are bad. And that's the big selling point, even without the season end. As I said, with what we were predicting for the final episode, I was expecting maybe Soul would do something great and heroic. Maybe he would join them or something like that. No. It was finishing up the Jedi, killing them off. Jedi are horrible. That was the whole premise of the show, at least how I took it. And when we did finally get to see from the Jedi's perspective of what happened, yes, did Soul kill May and Osha's mom? I do agree. That was horrible. But in the circumstance of what was happening at that moment, I don't think he did anything wrong. And I think, and as I said, it also comes down to the fact that he wanted to go and report what he did. He wanted to take full responsibility for what he did. And it was Indara who told him, no, don't do that to Osha. So at the end of the day, this show didn't sell me on the Jedi being bad. Now, maybe technically, what's her name? Damn, I can't remember her name. Ventress, the girl, the council lady. Maybe she's a bad Jedi, but we kind of only got to see a little piece of her, a little taste of her in the season. She was kind of more of a background character that did some things, and then she showed us off her really cool lightsaber whip just once to take out a bug, which I think was just a little taste of what a lightsaber whip could do, which was another thing that was kind of disappointing. I was kind of hoping we'd actually see her fight with it more than just whoosh, like getting a fly swatter and swatting a bug kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which is kind of disappointing in a way. Maybe we'll probably get to see it more in episode or season 2. I mean, but yeah, it's a lot. I don't think it's. No, I'm not gonna say. I don't think it's the worst series, Star Wars series in the world. I do not think it was, but I don't think it was anything above maybe average to below average. Which is a big bad thing about like media just today, guys. If you guys don't know, a lot of movies, a lot of TV shows, pretty much now with I'm going on a tangent and I apologize, but with like us having cell phones, having our media just in the palm of our hands, everyone's trying to fight for that view time, that watch time. We're talking about YouTube. We're talking about companies like Disney for movies, streaming services, TV series. Everyone's fighting. Even video games are fighting to get that watch time, to get that money from you. And now more than ever, you want whatever you're trying to sell, a movie, a TV series, a game, even soundtracks. You want to be something that's extraordinary, something that's special, because sadly, when it comes to anything, if it's just average, you'll have people watch it, don't get me wrong, but it's not going to, then it's just going to be pushed into the dark, just forgotten about. So sadly with Acolyte, it just does not really do anything extraordinary. Yes, there's twins. Yes, the lightsaber bleeds. Yes, Jedi are portrayed horribly and horrible in the show. Yeah, we see Darth Plagueis. But if I want to see that stuff, I could just watch some clips about it and get the whole gist of it at the end of the day, instead of wasting time to watch the whole series. And I think that's a big part of it, is that I could just watch a video about if I really wanted to see what the Acolyte was all about, or even just watch a person talk about it on a podcast, instead of giving the views directly to Disney. So for me, the series just did not do anything extraordinary that made me, or would make me tell you guys specifically, go out and watch this. I would say go watch somebody talk about it, I think is a better way to do it. Because you'll get the whole gist of what happened. They'll probably even play little clips about some of the parts and stuff, and they'll talk about some of the things. But I would say if you're a big Star Wars fan and you already have Disney Plus, and you love Disney Star Wars in quotations, what we like to call it, or like what I like to call it, then go ahead and watch it. For me, it's not worth getting Disney Plus over. I'll tell you that right now, unless you're a big Star Wars fan. But I don't think it's the worst Star Wars project ever made. I think I'm trying to think what would be the worst Star Wars project ever made. I think that's a tie between The Last Jedi / maybe Solo. Maybe between those two. That's actually a really good question. I actually maybe would need to actually think about that. My top worst Star Wars projects that have ever been made. That's a good question. I'll have to think about that. I'll have to get back to you on that. Maybe I'll make a video about it. Huh. That's actually something kind of cool to think about. But yeah, back to the point though, I don't think it's the worst. I just don't think it's anything extraordinary. Anything that's above average to below average. But yeah, I guess that's my take on it. What do you think, Spartan?
Specifically about?
I would say just the season, the series. Like, I would say just the season in general. Oh yeah, dude.
Overall, I almost didn't mind.
And I would say, would you recommend people also at the end? Would you recommend having people watch it? Is that a thing? Okay, yeah, but yeah, go ahead.
Again, overall, I didn't mind the series. Like, I'm not gonna like totally trash it. Just because I do think there's a lot of stuff you could say up here. It's just I don't mind the direction that they're going for. Like it just didn't appeal as well. A lot of fun dynamics, a lot of fun things that they can play with. It's just it's so subtle. And I hate to be that guy to like over dramatize like emotion and stuff, but I feel like we needed more of everything we got. We just needed more of it. Um, Especially with like Plagueis. Plagueis, I know you called it a carrot earlier, rope. I don't agree with that only for the sake that that's one of the only characters that makes sense in this time period. You know, like you don't just talk about Star Wars. You don't come to this period. You don't get to this part in the timeline and not acknowledge some of the only characters you have established at this point in time. Honestly, I think one of my biggest disappointments that I think really could have been like a huge character for this series, because they had been in service since I believe even the Old Republic, or I don't think quite that old, but he's seen thousands of Jedi craft their lightsaber. Where's Hu Yang? Hu Yang could have been really fun. He could have given us insight on Osha as a Jedi, or how odd that must have been, because obviously at some point or another she had a saber. You know, tell us about that training. Tell us about this. We have all these questions about sabers in of itself. Why don't we see something like this? Why don't we address something like this? The lightsaber whips, perhaps we can get Hu Yang to actually talk about all these things. Um, so yes, I'm a little salty that we just didn't get Hu Yang, because one of the few characters that would actually be part of this time period. Uh, so I don't mind like dipping into what we had, like with Kiadi, with Yoda, with Plagueis. But I definitely felt like they need to be a little more forefront. Um, Not that they need to take over the show, but it would have been better to see someone like Kiadi in Venestra's position. That just because we have Kiadi, he's a bit more familiar. The only risk that really, really runs is he would be the bad guy in this case. A bad guy we know cannot be defeated because, like we know Osha and May couldn't beat him if he were the bad guy because obviously he lives. you know. Um, and I know you're worried about this whole puppet thing with Yoda and the fact that they couldn't get the voice actor to come in and do all that. That's fine and all. I'm still looking at more of the implications of where that leads, for sure. I know you said it's like, okay, well, does that, how's that jeopardize or how's that affect Yoda as a character? It definitely affects him just for, damn it. It definitely affects him for the sake that, what is Venestra's connection to someone like Yoda? Could Yoda also have kind of been in on this? Because Yoda knows a lot about Jedi and the Sith. Um, he, like, especially in Clone Wars, we see that where he literally goes to a Sith temple to commune with a Sith to see what is happening. Um, no, I don't think that's a like common thing for Yoda, but I think it just shows that there could be a little more to Yoda as a character story there. So, to really circle back on what I'm saying, folks, I really wish the show had dipped a little more into the legacy this time period. I love Kamir. Like Kamir is by far my favorite character here. Soul was, but he's so divided, and like I said, we don't get enough of him that. Not that we don't get enough of him. We don't get enough of his explanations. Like, yeah, we know the why. I want to feel the why. I talked about in the previous episode where we see him very angry, and he like punches a monitor or punches a console. But he's got that same almost constipated face with a tear rolling down his face that it doesn't appeal to me so much. It's the fist that does the work, not the face.
I like how I like how we consider it the constipated face. I'm sorry.
I mean, I don't know what else to call it there. Just because, bunched up all together. What do you call it, otherwise? Sorry, folks. I don't know why I keep yawning. I'm yawning a lot. Damn it. I was trying to think. There was something else I was thinking of that would have been like another background or backup thing, but the show should have definitely delved a little more into this time period with the characters it has, in order, I think, to really carry the weight it should have. Because otherwise, right now, I really, in the grand scheme of things, I don't care about these characters. I don't think like this is a must-watch or anything. I think the only reason it really serves as a watch-along is just for the sake that it's Star Wars. I think you can watch episode 4 and you can die happy with the series. And go from there.
Okay, so like skip everything else except for episode 4.
Because that's the fight in the forest.
That's the best Disney Star Wars lightsaber fight we've seen.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I really did like that one a lot. And then as to whether it needs recommended, not really. I think this is very niche Star Wars. Like Star Wars Visions. Whereas Star Wars Visions, I can't carry as much weight just because there's no consistency to it. There's no story to it. But that's where this kind of feels. It feels so apart from everything that it's difficult to be like, yeah, no, you've got to watch all this.
Okay, yeah, I get what you mean.
Hopefully. Hopefully, folks. I know it's very convoluted, but yeah.
I think it's also just the expectations of just what it was coming out forward. Visions was the expectations that all these different animated studios are going to take the Star Wars license and create their own little stories. So okay, they're all going to be a story in themselves. They're not going to be connected. They're just going to be their own little thing. As this is supposed to be all coherent. This is all supposed to be in this time frame. And I'm glad you kind of brought up kind of the time frame, which, as for some people, you got to realize I don't really even know that much about the High Republic. And the only way you'll learn is if you read all the books that came out. And as what I've heard from some people is that they aren't really that good. And no offense, I'm not going to go out of my way to buy these books to find out what this time's frame or this time era is, which I kind of agree with you. I kind of wish they would have maybe delved more into what the High Republic. It could have been as something as a simple little intro with like maybe someone narrating, kind of to give us like the premise of this era in Star Wars. I kind of hate that they kind of just drop you in and don't really give you any context of what's going really on in this era, except through other mediums. Which there's nothing wrong with that, but give me just a basic understanding of what's going on, at least. So I can get into it, and then if I'm like, oh, I kind of want to learn more about this, then I'll go buy these books to learn more about some of the characters and stuff. Which Venestra, I'm probably pronounced her name wrong again, but I know she was actually
one. You said it right that time.
I did. Oh shoot, I did it. Yeah, awesome. High five for me. Yes, finally. It only took like 5 times. But she is actually one of the characters from what I've heard is that I've never read the books, but I've heard that she is a prominent character in the High Republic books. So yeah. And as I said, I don't know if the actress portrayed her well. As I said, I never read the books. I have no idea what her character is, but sadly also I just don't really care about her character to do the research. Sadly. And I think that's another big thing. It's just none of the really characters were very... I think Quamir he is very interesting. Soul also, but as I said, like, he died. So his story arc is over. But there's only a couple characters that are very interesting, and sadly, they're more of the background characters, in a way, compared to... Oh, we got one vote. Let's shoot. I'll check that later. If you guys don't know, I did put up a poll. Do you like the final episode of Acolyte? It's yes, no, or I just don't care. Definitely vote. We're going to be ending the stream probably within next, I would say, probably let's go 5 minutes. So we'll end the poll. Okay. Yeah, we'll end the poll. Or is there anything else you really want to go over?
Not particularly. Like, if I'm going to go over anything beyond this, it's going to be more like, hey guys, what do you want us to do next?
Okay. The only reason I was saying is because I know it's getting around the time where we kind of stop sometimes. I think we kind of covered really everything from what we thought about the final episode, the whole series in general. Yeah. But yeah, like what my co-host was bringing up is what are we going to cover next? That's the really big question.
Between two big options right now, folks. Well, really, I think it's going to be like 1.5 options. Because we brought up here on the channel The Boys. We both incredibly like the show The Boys. It's, you know, we've obviously watched the show. So it's going to be like impossible for us to just simply go over it week to week, I feel like. Or at least for me.
Yeah, for me too.
So I think it'd be easier that maybe we do one episode about The Boys, maybe. Season 4, which, fun. Whereas otherwise, folks, would you be interested in us just jumping straight into Andor, keeping it Star Wars? We already talked about possibly just doing like Andre on a 6-episode binge and then going from there the other 6 weeks.
Yeah.
So I would be very interested. If we get poll, we'll probably do, you know, whatever that result is, and otherwise, Andre and I will talk about it. And even a surprise next week.
Yes.
For you all. We don't get polls.
Oh, I did get one vote.
Awesome.
And
but that's
it's not
for
a
the
good
other
one.
thing.
It's not a good thing. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. Huh. I'm going to have to do that.
Go ahead.
So we did get a chat from the
Yeah.
MCU's Bleeding Edge. He says, "Hi, Jeff from the MCU's Bleeding Edge YouTube channel podcast. How can I reach out to you regarding a collaboration?"
That is something to definitely go over probably.
Right now. If you really need to reach out to me, I'm pretty sure I have an email attached to the actually I can even put it up if you need to reach out to me. I can help you with that, sir. But yeah, I'll put out an email. If you need to reach out to me about a collaboration, we could maybe work into that, and then yeah, I'd be totally down for that. That'd be kind of fun to do. Okay. This would be an email to reach out to us, and then we could probably figure out and do a collaboration. That'd be kind of cool. Just let us know what you'd want to talk about and stuff. We could all talk about that. But yeah, that'd be kind of cool to do a collaboration, whatnot. It'd be kind of fun. We got 2 votes right now, and it's half and half, yes and no, on the final episode of Acolyte.
Not bad.
So 50-50. And we're got a couple more minutes. So if you want to vote, if you haven't vote for sure. Let us know what you think. If you guys like it, have any comments, feel free. This is like usually the part of the stream that we just kind of like answer comments and whatnot, all that good jazz. Yeah. Actually, hang on. Let me. I wonder if I can send you actually a message just in case you did leave, sir. The MCU bleeding. Yeah. Do you know who the MCU bleeding is? Bleeding Edge is?
No idea.
I have no idea who they are. Yeah, but I'd be down to do a collab. That'd be kind of fun. Kind of talking about stuff. Yeah, just let us know. I'll send you MCU bleeding. I don't know when you sent this message, and if I missed it, I apologize. I guess my chat's not working on, which is weird because it usually works really well on my Streamlabs. It's not working today. I don't know why. Because usually things will pop up if people put up chats and stuff. So I apologize if I did miss it. I'll see if I'll check on your channel, and I'll send you a message or something. I'll figure that out and contact you about that if you still want to do that. We can figure that out. But yeah, indeed. But yes, I think that's pretty much the wrap up for the series. So the final, we'll end the poll right here, guys. The poll ends right now, and the poll was about pretty much 50-50, 2 votes, yes and no. As I said, if you guys like the series, that's awesome. I hope you love it. I'm glad you liked it. I'm just sad I couldn't like it as much as you guys did. It just didn't hit me the same way, and that's fine, you know. There's always other projects and other things people are doing. There it goes. Now it finally popped up. Oh, weird. But yeah, there's an email I said. If you do see it, I'll try to contact you. We'll see if we can get that. So we might be doing a collab for a podcast. That sounds like fun. But yeah, it'll be kind of fun to do kind of stuff like that. We'll do, but yeah, we'll try to figure out what we're gonna do next podcast on Monday. Wait, what?
Sorry, it just popped up on my end that you have been connected to the server. Like,
That's weird. I don't know what's going
Have I
on.
not been here?
But yeah, we'll probably figure it out. Probably more likely, if we don't hear back on what you guys want to do, we'll probably more likely do Andor. They are getting a season 2, and I think it comes out next year, or is it this year?
I want to say next year.
That's
I think
what I'm
they
thinking.
Did push it back to next year. Yeah.
That's what I was thinking too.
Which, mind you, if D23 is here in like 2 weeks, we might actually have something to start before then too.
Yes.
So and folks, if something does come up, we will probably try and hurry along with Andor. Maybe like 2 episodes stream or whatever.
We can, if we do hear anything
Yeah,
of Star Wars
figure it out.
projects during the D23, because I think it is this. I don't know exactly what I'd have to look that up. Let me look it up. When is D23 supposed to start? Because I'm kind of curious about that. 23 Expo. It begins August 9th, 10th, and 11th. So that we won't be discussing anything like that this week. But I was going to say, if there is any Star Wars
about 2
news,
weeks.
yeah, it's coming up. Actually, it'll be here, in 2 weeks. But yeah, like I would say, with our podcast and everything, with really not that there being any big Star Wars news coming up for a while, or anything big Star Wars, we will probably discuss if there's anything talked about Star Wars related at the D23 that week, more likely. Anything big Star Wars.
Which we probably won't be attending, but any trailers that they do share with the public, we will definitely be going.
I'm definitely not attending that.
Talking about, I was gonna say we're both too poor, folks. We need more support here on the channel if you want us to actually be able to go.
Give us some money. Yeah, no, don't give us money. It's okay.
Well, no, give us subscribers. That's how we make money.
Spread the word. Tell your friends.
Yep. Tell your
Like-
friends, Humpty Scrubs.
Like
get
the
to D23.
podcast. Share it.
Get out there.
Interesting. I'm just actually looking at this person. Huh. I'll have to check into them and see if we can do something.
Yeah, folks, we'll get an interesting find.
Yep. It'll be interesting to see what's going to happen into the future with Star Wars. But yeah, hope you guys had a great Monday. This is the last full week of July. Can't believe it. Then we're going to be going into August and school starting up again. Huh.
Say that like you're worried.
No, it's just because if you guys don't know, I'm an adult. I work pretty much a full-time job. So it's just weird, you when you're a kid. I'm going off on a tangent, but like when you're a kid, you enjoy summer. You're like, oh, freedom, baby. And then when school comes back, you're just like, oh, I gotta go back to school. But then as an adult, you're just like, I work 5 days a week, 9 to 5, baby.
There is no such thing as a break.
Yeah, except for like, depending on where you work, of course, holidays, depending on where you work. Holiday. So yeah. But yeah, you guys be safe out there. Have a good rest of your week. Remember, the Force will be with you always. Mm-hmm. But have a good rest of your week, guys. Love you guys. See you guys next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everyone.